You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchardstown Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
This is 92.5 Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
Hey everybody, it's JB Jeremy Borash, and you are listening to Darrow O'Connor on the...
Welcome to the Wrestling Rewind, the only wrestling podcast by fans who don't hate wrestling.
Hey everybody, welcome to the WrestlingRewind.com, Nerd to Know Media, on the YouTubes, the Facebooks, all that kind of stuff. And of course, Phoenix 92.5 FM and the True Penny channel. We are everywhere. You have no excuse to not listen other than you don't want to waste your time talking about pay-per-views from about 20 years ago. My name is Darrow O'Connor, and I'm going to apologise in advance. This is not a very good show. I mean, our show's great. Pay-per-view isn't very good. So we're going to do our best to try and guide you through what is indeed probably the worst period of WWE. If you can believe it, actually. It's just... I forgot how bad this period was, and I was back after this watching wrestling, and I just remember hating it because I was just as I think I was in fifth year in school, and that for American listeners, that's the last year before your final year, before you go away to college or whatever. And yeah, it's Cyber Sunday 2006, so it's just after ECW has come back, which is a whole arc in and of itself. And yeah, John Cena is winning. You know, Cena wins, lols. But it is interesting to see how much has changed within a year. But with all that said, last week we did about a 4-hour show. So if you guys haven't checked that out, absolutely go and check that out. I actually split it into 2 shows. It was that long. So we have our normal news, and then we have, I think it's like a 2.5-hour breakdown of Cyber Sunday 2005. So yeah,
Taboo Tuesday.
Was it? Oh, sorry, Taboo Tuesday 2005.
This is the first Cyber Sunday.
I tried to forget the show so much that I forgot the name of it. Yeah, this is the first Cyber Sunday, but to help me walk through this very murky field is the one, the only. You love him, you know him, Mr. Martin Hardy. How things, Martin?
Not a bother, Dara. I'm in that kind of lull, that purgatory between. Do you know when you've really gotten into a series and you kind of watching, maybe 2 episodes every night? So we started watching, I don't know if you've ever heard of Yellowstone. Brilliant show. It's got 2 prequels, one called 1923 and one called 1883. Yeah. So we did all of 1883 and all of 1923, and then there's 5 seasons of Yellowstone. So we've been watching this for maybe the past 2 months, like every night, and we finished it last night. And then this evening, me and the missus sat down with the dinner in front of the telly, and we looked at it and we were just like, what do we do now? Like, what is life? So we're in that lull between programs to watch. That's if fair. You have any recommendations.
Actually, I'm not watching anything at the moment, so I don't really have any recommendations. Upload is quite good. I don't know if you've seen Utopia. Utopia's really good.
Yeah, it was very good. Enjoyed it.
Pretty much all Mr. Robot's really good as well.
I haven't watched it. I might give it a go.
Yeah, they're all really good series on Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime gets overlooked because everybody's like, oh yeah, it's what free shipping is. I'm like, no, actually the streaming service is quite good, and you're not affected as well by the north-south thing, so you actually get Amazon Prime without a VPN. I have to VPN so it works.
Whenever I first got Amazon Prime, I had to have it out with them. It kept putting me, because we're in the north, it kept putting me in limbo. It was giving me the worst of Ireland and the worst of Britain. Like, it wasn't.
It just knew. It's like, this guy we're going to screw completely.
We're just going to mess with this one. But we got it sorted out in the end. And sure, look, even if you've nothing else to watch, at least we had Cyber Sunday. Yeah,
well, I will say, if you're a Power Rangers fan, the Power Rangers 30th anniversary dropped, so you go back and watch that.
Oh, it's the originals, is it?
Yeah, well, yeah, it's like, it's the 30th anniversary of the original cast, but the team is made up of like the first and second generation, so it's quite good. It's actually surprisingly good.
Oh, yeah. Check that. Sheer nostalgia alone. I remember when the Power Rangers started, like the first series ever.
Yeah.
I remember it coming on to the Den, and it was actually one of those shows that it was the first time I'd ever seen it that they were like hyping up that this show was coming.
Really?
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever seen them like really promote that a show was coming.
See, I don't remember. I think I was like 4, so I don't really remember the hype. I just remember watching it. I don't remember like the hype around it.
Yeah, no, I would have been 7, so I kind of vividly remember Power Rangers coming on.
Oh, that's fair. But yeah, that's there, and I'd recommend that. So not as good as Yellowstone. Well, maybe to some people, but it's definitely better than this show, Cyber Sunday 2006.
Yeah, and an aggressively average show.
Yeah, but there are some like good points to it. I would have to say it seems like they've actually. Well, this felt like a pay-per-view first and foremost, right? So hold on, I'm gonna do the boring stuff first. So the 5th of November 2006 from Cincinnati, Ohio, in the U.S. Bank Arena, and the attendance was still 7,000. That's like consistent. The buy rate was actually a lot more. It was 228,000, and the original post
significant. It was actually even higher than that year's No Mercy.
Yeah, it was it actually felt like a pay-per-view.
That is the first note I have down here.
You're joking.
I swear to God, because do you remember we talked about how the first Taboo Tuesday felt like a Dying Days of WCW show?
Yeah.
And then the second Taboo Tuesday felt like a house show.
Yeah.
This is the first one that feels like it comes in and the camera sweeps around and there's a huge audience, and they've got the lighting and the sound right, and do you remember we had issues with the production? The production just felt off.
And this actually feels like a proper pay-per-view. However, there is still people holding up Cyber Sunday signs. Could be the same guy. He's like, oh, my Taboo Tuesday sign's out of date. Let me refresh it. Why? Why are you doing that? We know what pay-per-view you are. We're watching it.
Do you think those are maybe like comped seats, and they go, all right, yeah, we can move you down the front, but you have to hold this up?
I still don't understand why. I mean, we know what show we're watching.
Yeah, but it's like, look, I think WWE, when it comes to market, and just can't help themselves. Like, whenever you log on to the network and you try to watch a program, you're on the network, you're paying for the network, you're trying to watch a program on the network, and you have to sit and watch an ad for the network. It's
I know. I mean, okay, that's kind of silly in and of itself, but like, these are like homemade signs. Didn't look like that sign was made by anybody. It's just, I don't know. Sorry. It's just, listen, folks, I'm going to be real for a moment. If you go to a show and you bring a sign, please, God, have your sign say anything else other than the show you're watching.
Or an advert for your podcast.
Or an ad for your podcast. I mean, anything else. It could be anything else.
And have fun with it. Like, mad, some of these signs we have seen have been, I mean, obviously there's been the really terrible ones, but some of them have been hilarious. Really, some of them have been inventive. Some of them are really like physically clever. Like, there's a really good one. It doesn't appear in the show, but it appears in a video package in this show, where someone has a sign with Ric Flair's face on it, and he's saying woo, but they can pull the side of the sign out, and the woo goes on for like 20 O's. It comes out the side a bit longer and longer.
There's a good one here, actually, when the show just starts, and it says the new Wham. Now, I don't know what it actually means, but they have like the record of Wham, and I think it's Triple H and Shawn Michaels, but I can't really see it. So I mean that's confusing. But look, at least that required effort, and it's on. It's like literally behind Jerry King Lawler. So look, that's the first thing I wanted to say. JR is back. The King is back. So obviously Joey Styles is gone. He's working on WWE.com, ironically enough, at this point. Or actually, no, sorry, he's on ECW at this point. Sorry,
I was going to ask. Yeah, did they send him to WWE CW?
They did. He was the lead play-by-play until he wasn't, and then he went and worked on WWE.com, and that's where he's been ever since.
He couldn't take it anymore. Oh, is he still with them?
He's still there, yeah.
Oh, fair play. Do you know, I like when you hear about some wrestler from years gone by who you haven't seen, but they're not gone. They're backstage working as an agent or working.
Yeah, it's like all the TNA lads. They're all just like agents now.
Yeah, weren't you saying Abyss puts together loads of matches?
Yeah, Abyss, Jeremy Borash.
I see they've parted ways with Road Dogg.
Recently, have they?
I think I saw recently that he wasn't an agent anymore.
Oh, not former #1 contender.
I was just about to say, how could you lose that kind of experience?
Absolutely.
He went toe to toe with The Rock.
Hold on, he went one-on-one with the Great One. How dare you?
The Great One at the height of the Great One's popularity, like just. Some say that there would be no Rock if it wasn't for Road Dogg.
I would be one of them. I'd believe it.
Yeah, and you have to say as well, Rock was this young up and coming gay, and Road Dogg, the veteran, he put him over. You know,
he did. Some would argue he made The Rock.
Yeah, some would. Yeah,
they'd be wrong.
There's all sorts of lunatics out there.
I have to say, the bit that got me when this show opened, the King for the first time ever has a laptop in front of him. You think they would have like done that sooner, but then again, I got my first laptop in like 2006, like my laptop, or 2007 really. So I'm like, okay, that tracks, but it's like.
You think he didn't know what it was? Do you think he just got there and production had put it there and hey, who left their skinny lunchbox on the desk?
When he's so awkward with it that it's like there's no way that's yours. Like he's just like pointing at it and like afraid to touch it, and it's just like, nah, that you don't even know what that does, which is a good thing because imagine if he did.
Well, obviously it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
he'd be very distracted in the middle of the matches. JR would be calling the action, and Lawler would be like, "What's this prawn hub?"
So yeah, oh man, but the crowd shots here. This is like properly just the weird, because it's not the Attitude Era. It's the weird post WWE pre PG era kind of thing, and the crowd is so bizarre.
I think this is because this is actually one of the notes I have here. So I swear to God, folks, me and Dara do not discuss these shows before we come on the air. But
that's not one of your lines as well, is it?
No, yeah.
Oh my God.
I have down that this is the start of the PG era because there's a difference in. Okay, so there's a difference in the way the women's match is treated.
Yeah.
There's a difference in the way the voting around the women's treated.
Yeah.
Lawler has clearly been told to rein it in
completely. Yeah. And I mean, and you can and it's reflected in the crowd because it's not just wrestling fans. It's not just teenagers. It's like young kids and moms, and like it's just it's such a weird crowd because it's like when we watch these in vacuums, we just see kind of the overall presentation of it, and they've really been like, you know what? No, actually, we're going to like really just make this much more. I don't want to use family friendly because wrestling has always kind of been family friendly in that way. Even when it hasn't been, it still has that perception. But this is like, okay, you're getting, this is a Sunday after church kind of crowd. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Has the company gone public by 2006?
Dude, the company was public in 1999.
Right. So this show struck me as being very safe, very corporate.
Yeah. No, they just wanted to make a boatload of money.
Yeah, but
and
go
they started
out
there
and hit the numbers, but none of the attitude really. You actually see it even in the way like DX.
Well, hold on. Before we get into that, so again, Yeah, we don't discuss this beforehand. We literally say, "Hey, what's up?" and then we hit record. So I have no idea what's in your notes, Martin. But you know when it hit me that what you're saying is on the money. The stage actually did look great. The physical sets just look so much better than the homunculus of like digitized graphics. That never looks good. I'm sorry. If you like it, grand. I will always take a physical set. And
100%.
And it's a cool set, right? But it's basically an Apple Mac desktop.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm like, oh, that screams corporate. You know, like Mac products. I like Mac products, I do, but you know, they're not going for like the sketchy PC. They're not going for the dodgy laptop. They're going for the all white, pretty inside stuff. And it was a cool way of doing it, but it was like, right, no, we're gonna put this forward as big
is this
corporate as possible.
Is this subtle sponsorship before the dove head first into the likes of the Mountain Dew street fight?
No, I don't even think it's that.
The Cheerios deathmatch.
The Hell in a Cell brought to you by Coca-Cola. No, I don't even think it's that. I think it's more the clean aesthetics, which is what Mac always has. You know, what Apple always has, that kind of super clean, super sleek, and the grittiness is gone, and that's what this stage really kind of shows. You know, like the other two, they were good attempts. You know, we made fun of it really because, you know, Triple H would always walk in the middle of it. But this seems to be much more on the money, well thought out. And I love the fact that the video does play on the tower. It actually looks really cool. So it seems like this is the most developed concept of it. But by it being so developed, the grittiness is gone.
Yeah, this looks like the start of the process that ended up with what we have now, which is a very polished, very plastic, almost.
That's the word I was looking for.
Cartoonish.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Polish. Yeah.
Yeah, and this looks like the start of sort of that journey.
Yeah. Still signs though. Still signs, and it
still signs, and still an element of like you're still getting you can hear the push and pull between the fans who hate Cena and the fans who love Cena, and you know.
I have to say, so the actual host thing is quite cool. Maria's one of the hosts this year, along with Todd Phillips.
Maria's outfit is very expressive for someone who hops and bounces about as much as she does when she's talking.
Indeed.
Not to channel the spirit of Jerry Lawler or anything, but it's hard not to notice.
No, that's fair. That's fair. So the first match of the night is it's actually the first real match of the night. I'm sad we missed. It's super crazy who defeated Rob Conway.
Oh, was there a dark match?
There was a dark match, yeah, and we didn't get to see Discount Buff Bagwell.
I actually, because he was on the previous Taboo Tuesday, wasn't he?
He was, yeah, he was.
Oh, when he walked out, I was like, "What? They brought Buff back? they opened the company
Forbidden
up to voting, and the people wanted Buff." It's like, it's wish.com Buff.
Yeah, no, they went and got the discount one. So no, it's Umaga going against Kane, and the choices were Chris Benoit or Sandman. And it sucks because, I mean, I think I was voting at this point. And I voted for Sandman because, like, I mean, anyone was better than Kane. Like, legitimately, again, this is still all real. It's not fixed. You had the US champion in Chris Benoit. And then you had Sandman, who looked so insane that you have to vote.
Even more so than his, like, ECW heyday.
He was properly unhinged. Yeah, he was like milling himself in the head. Now, to be fair, he wasn't hitting himself very hard with the candlestick, but still hard enough.
It was the A's were like bulging out of his head so much you think they were going to pop. Like,
it looks like he was about to cry.
It's actually, I still don't know if I fully believe how truthful they are about the audience voting thing, because I can't imagine anyone voting to see Kane at this stage of his career, because Umaga Benoit would have been an amazing mix of styles match, and Umaga Sandman would have been an awesome, killer versus lunatic match.
But remember, a lot of kids are voting on this.
Yeah.
And Benoit,
16 million of them this time around, apparently.
Yeah, Benoit really isn't.
He's a wrestling fan's wrestler.
No, I was going to say he isn't kid friendly, and then I'm like,
yeah,
I know. Yeah, I'm just kind of trying to push it away, like, yeah. But he is a wrestler's fan. Again, the wrestler Benoit, not the man. Yeah, he is not. He's a wrestler's pick, right?
Yeah.
And Sandman would have been like a fun pick, but if you're a kid at this point, Kane is he's the name, right? So I think this was always going to be the plan. What's interesting about this one is the match itself isn't great. Umaga gets the win, which is surprising.
And was really good. Like, so,
and it's convincing.
He's on his killer run at this stage. So it was good booking. Like, it was.
Absolutely.
But yeah, the match was kind of, it was the problem with some of these B-level pay-per-views is they hype it up as a pay-per-view, but to me a pay-per-view is supposed to be like, the culmination of, series of stories or like major points in a series of stories, where a lot of these just felt like Raw matches.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing with this was what was selling this show really was the interactivity of it. The match itself, it's great until it got in the ring, and that's kind of the problem. Once it was in the ring, pretty much consistently, with the exception of maybe 2 matches, all of them are very, very standard punch kick finish.
The other thing, and it's just interesting you're talking there about how the interactivity is the selling point of this.
Yeah.
I think you're right, and there is a kernel of a good idea here. And while Cyber Sunday, it does look better than Taboo Tuesday, they're still not using this idea to its full potential. Like, the fan, right, it's interactive. Let's just take them at the word. It's interactive and the results are real. That's fine.
Yeah.
They're not giving people particularly exciting options. Like, they're not giving people the option to vote for something that we would never see otherwise.
Well, he did. Sandman versus Umaga.
Yeah, I suppose.
That's weird. They didn't vote for it. They voted for Kane.
But even that, like, that's just, I don't know. I just feel like with this, firstly with the interactivity of it, and secondly with the fact that this is the early days of the internet, people are really excited about this.
Yeah.
I just think there was an opportunity here to make these pay-per-views really big, like make them one of the big 5 or big 6, like the one time a year when you get to decide. But the only way that captures the audience's like imagination is if you give them real, like, outlandish or surprising options, like either a match type that they've never seen before, or bringing in some big, like, either independent wrestler or someone who's not in the company, for one night only, or just something different. But you're just getting to vote on variations of matches between Raw wrestlers.
Yeah. Also, did you cop the Canyon sign in the middle of this match?
I did. Yeah, who better?
Yeah, who better than Canyon? Exactly.
Is Canyon? Is he still with us at this stage, or?
Yeah, he is, but I think he's gone from WWE for quite some time at this point.
Yeah, Canyon. You forget because partly because most of it happened in WCW and he wasn't particularly well used in WWE, and then partly because he was never like the top level guy.
Yeah.
Like, apparently he was really, really important in terms of ingenuity when it came to developing moves and developing matches. He was like really well respected backstage. There's
also a sign that says remember the 5th of November, which, I mean, it is the 5th of November, but they're in where are they? They're in Ohio. It's like, okay.
Well, hold on. let me. So this is 2006.
Yeah.
And the film V for Vendetta
was
released 2005. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. I was
So
just like,
maybe
well, he's just a big fan.
Oh no! It only came out in the US in 2006.
Oh, then it must have just come out.
So maybe it's a reference to V for Vendetta.
I'd say so.
One of my favorite films.
Yeah, it is fantastic. The comic, it's actually better than the comic book. I'll be honest with you.
One of those rare ones, yeah, where at the very least it lives up to the source material.
No, absolutely. Yeah, but look, this match, it was Umaga's killer run, so he was always winning. And I mean, it's kind of interesting. If he had gone against Benoit, and it might have been for the title, I don't think it would have been, but maybe putting the belt on him would have been a really good decision.
Yeah, and do you know what? I think when you have a guy on a killer run, he actually can elevate those mid-card titles by going on a real run. Like one of the things that they did so brilliantly with the TNT title in its first 2 years was they made it the workhorse title, the champions title. It was defended all the time in these top quality matches. And then for the last 2 years of the TNT title, it's been kind of hot shotted around and moved about, and it's lost a lot of its prestige because of that. So yeah, sticking the belt on a guy who was about to go on a killer run would have been awesome.
But the finish here was quite interesting as well. Yeah, there was some shenanigans outside, but it was a clean win.
Yeah,
Kane goes to the top. There's a little bit of interference, but then he does. He goes for the flying clothesline, which was his thing at the time.
What do you make of? So in terms of a, go ahead, give the finish there.
Sorry, yeah, and then it sets up the Simone spike, which is a thumb to the throat, and that gets the 1, 2, 3.
So that's what I was going to ask. In terms of the clean win, so the Samoan spike, that's a very, very heavily taped thumb that he's using. What's your thoughts on that in terms of foreign objects and using weapons in the ring? Do you think that crosses the line? Or
no? I think it's up there with Roman Reigns' vest.
Yeah,
I mean, or D'Lo Brown's vest. Like he wore that doing the frog splash.
That's true. Yeah, there was a. I can't remember if it was just fans discussing it or if it actually came up on the shows. But do you remember there was a whole thing where Kurt Angle choked somebody out with the strap of his singlet, and he was arguing that because it was his gear and he wore it into the ring, it wasn't a foreign object because you kick someone with your boot, but that's not counted as a.
Yeah, it's not a foreign object, but it's also unsporting as well.
Yeah, but
I mean, it's not a foreign object, but okay, that's what it's like. It's like in hockey, right? Like a real sport. In hockey, you're allowed to hit people as much as you want, but you're not allowed to hit them with your stick.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of the same thing.
Do you know? I think we might have had a similar discussion to this before. You've probably blocked it out of your mind because it was during our WCW arc.
Oh, then I totally have. Go on.
So the Cat used to come out to the ring barefoot, right?
Okay.
And he would wrestle barefoot.
Right.
And then whenever he was cheating, what his valet would do is his valet would slip a shoe into the ring, and he'd put the shoe on and do one of his karate kicks, kick the guy with the shoe, and then quickly take the shoe off and throw it out before the referee saw it. But you're allowed to wear shoes.
But also, I mean, if you're going to kick someone, I'd rather kick someone barefoot because you can get. That's so stupid. I totally forgot about it.
Yeah, he used to cheat by putting the shoe on, but I was like, the other guy came down to the ring in his shoes.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're going if you are going to karate kick someone, it's better to be barefoot because you're using the full bone. Oh God, that's so stupid.
Do you know what? It wouldn't have even bothered me if he was throwing like a hobnail boot, or
like a boot or something,
a steel toe cap or something, or a stiletto into the ring. I'd hate to be karate kicked with a stiletto.
Absolutely.
But no, it was just like a nice red velvet shoe.
If anything, as I said, if anything, that's making his ability to kick worse. He's handicapping himself.
Oh my God, WCW.
Oh, they didn't think that one through. They did not think that one through at all.
Strange, because everything else was usually on point, but a rare WCW nonsense there.
So speaking of nonsense, we have a slice into the abyss that was 2005-2006 tag team wrestling on Raw.
Oh my God.
We had returning favorites, Lance Cade and Trevor Murdoch. Charlie Haas and Viscera teaming together for some reason in pajamas.
Well, Haas insisted he team with Viscera because he just didn't want to wrestle him.
I mean, that's totally fair. You have to learn from The Undertaker.
Like The Undertaker.
Absolutely, you have to learn from The Undertaker.
Viscera just thought he was the most popular guy in the company. Vince would come out and be like, we need someone to team with Viscera, and every hand would go up.
Everybody would jump in. I'm like, I want that. Viscera was doing his big Vis lover gimmick. So that's why they're all dressed in pajamas, and it's all very, very weird. Very, very weird. But then we have Crime Time, which doesn't age well, to say the very least. And then we have a team that I've been referencing for ages, which I don't think you believed was real. The Highlanders.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah. Very. So this is, now I will admit, this is the period when I was not watching. But
so this gimmick, right? These are actual Highlanders from like 13th, 14th century Scotland who are transported to modern America. That's the gimmick.
That's the gimmick.
That's the gimmick.
They explicitly say this.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So whenever we're done with the Cyber Sunday arc, you're going to have to tune in for our Highlanders arc. I'm watching this
It's not good. It's not good. It's terrible. It's really not good. And then, so look, this match was a Texas Tornado match, right? And I mean, look, that probably was the best pick. The others were just not interesting, too bad. But it resulted in one of the messiest matches I have ever seen.
And only 4 minutes long.
It was an absolute train wreck. But Crime Time were super over. Look, the gimmick doesn't age well. Fair enough. But it was super over. Like, these guys are like new age outlaws over.
Is Crime Time, is one of those lads the fella who drowned saving his son?
The large lad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right,
and the other guy wrote 2 books about how he managed to keep his job in WWE. Because he was on payroll for like 10 years and never used, just, was hanging out.
So this match, it only went 4 minutes. It was, like you say, it was a sloppy mess. It was nothing. Viscera, now, so like this was during the period when I wasn't watching, but see, even when there have been periods where I haven't watched, I've kind of kept up with it in the background. Like, I could tell you who people are.
Yeah.
Viscera was the only one here I actually recognized. So I wasn't prepared for what the whole gimmick is with Crime Time. So when the match is over, Crime Time go over to the announce desk. They start like talking smack with JR and Jerry Lawler, but it's a distraction so that one of them can nick Lawler's laptop.
Yep.
And okay, so I'm watching this going, this feels faintly racist, but it'll probably lead into a story later on in the night. Like, it'll be part of something. There's something on the laptop, or they use the laptop to manipulate phone. There'll be a reason for this later on in the night. No, just the 2 black guys nicked the laptop. That's
the gimmick. That's the gimmick. And they
that's all there is to it.
They 100% steal that laptop.
And then
dance away.
But I was looking at him going, you fool. you took it without the charger. You're going to have to spend 30 quid on a charger for that now.
That's true. That's true.
But
poor Jerry Lawler. You know, he doesn't even go after them. He just like sits there and, you know. But anyway, so that's a thing that happened, and that gimmick was incredibly over.
Well, he couldn't go after them because famously McMahon wouldn't let you leave the desk. Isn't there a story?
That's fair.
There's a story of one of the commentators urinating at the desk.
Really?
Because McMahon was screaming in their ear that they weren't allowed to leave the desk.
Oh wow! And so then it cuts backstage to Shawn Michaels battling a laptop. Apparently, in this universe, none of them actually know how to use a computer, which fair enough. I mean, Shawn Michaels' feud with technology has been well documented in meme form, and they're talking about who should they pick to be the referee, and they decide Eric Bischoff is the best one to pick because Bischoff, you know, they haven't done anything on Bischoff yet. The team music is real bad. Then it cuts to the lads who made it with their big emo fringes, and it's like, oh, I remember that. That wasn't good.
Hold on.
Go on.
So there's I want to discuss something about this pay-per-view that I actually enjoyed.
Okay.
So the wee backstage segments and skits and that through the night, some of these were genuinely really good.
They were.
So Shawn Michaels and Triple H, like you say, they say, oh, we'll go with Eazy-E for the referee because we haven't like done anything yet that would make him biased against us.
Yeah.
And then Triple H says, although, you know, Eric says he's the king of controversy. He says we don't know anything about controversy. And Michaels takes exception to this, and he references the Montreal screw job, and he references how Triple H is banging the boss's daughter, and then he walks down. He walks down the hallway, and there's just these like production guys out with their headsets, and they're going through notes, and they're just minding their own business. And he walks down the hallway shouting about controversy and super kicks every one of them.
He does
on the way down. Genuinely, I thought that was funny. And there's a couple of these segments during the night. Like there's a segment later on with Booker T and John Cena that I thought was genuinely funny. And so there's, if you're like, do you know, normally we'd say, look, it's a bad pay-per-view, but watch the Intercontinental title match. It's really good.
Yeah.
There's no particular match on this pay-per-view that I'd say is great, but give it a go for the wee skits and stuff. The wee skits are pretty good.
Yeah, like the skits are kind of what carry the show through the doldrums of it, really, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next match is Jeff Hardy with the IC belt. And he's picked to go against Carlito. Now, the choices for this were Shelton Benjamin and Johnny Nitro. Shelton Benjamin should have been the pick here. And Johnny Nitro, he's had incredible matches with Jeff Hardy.
I was disappointed it wasn't Johnny Nitro.
I was very disappointed that it wasn't anybody but Carlito. And don't get me wrong, and this is what I'm saying, I do not for one moment doubt that these picks were legit. But a lot of very stupid kids, you know, were voting. And he went for Carlito, who was the most cartoonish out of all of them.
Like we're wrestling fans in our 30s and we're going, who'd be the best match? But obviously the kids are looking at the guy with the cool hair who spits apples in people's faces. Yeah.
And, you know, we were in our late teens when this was out. Mid-teens, late teens. This whole era is very disappointing for stuff like that. It is genuinely disappointing. And the match itself, as a result, is not very good.
Did you notice that, and I don't know if they were doing it deliberately or not, but I thought it was strange because Jeff Hardy's really popular at this time.
Yeah.
And the camera keeps framing it so that when he's stood in the ring, right behind him, you can see the guy in the audience holding up a huge sign that just says Jeff Hardy sucks.
I didn't notice it, no.
No, yeah, I just thought it was so strange because like if you were to try and name someone in that era who was kind of universally beloved in WWE, like Jeff Hardy would be one of the names.
Not to this guy. He was like, that Jeff Hardy fella.
Said it too easy for too long.
But no, I did. Speaking of random things in the crowd, there was some alpha in the crowd at the end, like just near the end of the match, and he's on the phone, just talking, just having a phone call at ringside.
He's on the phone to Meltzer, giving him the
He's
update.
in the front row. He's just like, "Yep, I'm at Cyber Sunday." It's just pretty much for the entire like run of the last match. He's just on that phone. It's hilarious.
He's given a play-by-play to Brian Alvarez on Wrestling Observer.
Oh, so
I've
funny.
actually and touch wood here because I haven't got my ticket yet. But the AEW's Wembley show is going to be my first ever live wrestling. I mean, apart from like Irish Indies and stuff like that.
Hold on, when is it?
August 27th.
Yeah, so WWE are like in the Tree Arena in like June.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, they're touring again, but it's different going to see a house show as.
Going to see this. But so like I'm kind of feeling the pressure in terms of
really,
should I bring a sign, and then I've spent the past 2 years with you, like ripping the urine out of everybody else's signs. So if I bring one, it's going to have to be genuinely good. So what am I gonna?
You know what's going to happen? You're going to put all the pressure into it, and you're going to be sitting there, and it'll be 5 minutes before you have to go, and you'll just write
Wembley Arena,
Wembley Arena, Rampage, Dynamite, or just write wrestling.
So
and you'd be like, the prophecy has been fulfilled.
This is it. And now we'd be like, I'll be on the phone to you going, Dara, we got to go back and edit those shows. I understand these people now. There's a lot of pressure when you're trying to write a sign, when you know it's going to be seen by millions of people.
Okay, quick production note on like just a weird thing I noticed on the show in general, right? So they have Cyber Sunday, just flash into it, right? And then it's just revolutionary. You're like, it's not though. You've done it for 2 years. It's not really revolutionary anymore.
Yeah, and you don't do anything wild with it.
No.
Like, do you remember Taboo Tuesday? Some of the options were like a hardcore match, a no holds barred match, and a falls count anywhere match. That is the same thing.
No, the best was choose your weapon match, and it doesn't really matter because he's going to use anyone he wants anyway.
Yeah. Choose your weapon. Oh, and the way they had them set up, like out of those podiums with a chair and a pipe. Oh,
it was wonderful. I miss those days. The halcyon days of Taboo Tuesday 2004. But
it is mad that they didn't, like, they could have genuinely made this pay-per-view idea huge if they'd given people lunatic stuff, like you're saying, look, we're going to have such and such go up against such and such night, and you get to decide what match it is. It's either going to be, the ring is surrounded by piranha, the turnbuckles are replaced with, I don't know, whoopee cushions. Just if they'd come up with something mad for it that got people really excited.
There is fire everywhere.
Everything's on fire. The referee's on fire. The building is on fire. And the two wrestlers are dressed as firemen, and the winner is the person who leads most people to the exit. just something.
No, here's a good one. Right? One of the choices is an empty arena match, so everybody has to leave the arena. I think that'd be hilarious.
And
everybody has to leave the arena, like in the middle of the show.
The wrestler who wins is the one who throws the most paying customers out of the arena.
It's actually called a ushering match. It's getting everybody out of the arena.
I was actually I was training as a wrestler in Cork for Phoenix Wrestling, and we had one of our shows where the two guys battered each other all around the arena, and then out the front door of the arena, and then out onto the main road in Cork, like the main road into the city,
Right.
and 400 people out following them, blocking the whole road, and then one of them gets hoofed over the edge of it, and near copes into the river. It was one of the most mental things I've ever seen in wrestling, and it happened in front of like a crowd of 400 locals. It was wild.
Unfortunately, nothing like this happened on that show. Eric Bischoff did come back, though. We haven't seen Eric Bischoff in a while. He's now grey. He's recovered from being shaved bald, but he is completely grey now. Rated RKO, which was a phenomenal tag team, which wouldn't see the end of the year because I think Orton got injured, and that was kind of the end of it. Triple H would also be injured around this time as well. And you know, I mean, this obviously set up something else. RKO and DX had like a feud pretty much for about the entire year until injuries happened. It just wasn't good though. Generally, I mean, this was a very meh match, you know, and I think it was the second biggest match of the night. But unfortunately, I like everyone in this, but like everybody, but it was just not good. And I don't think, like, thankfully we didn't see John and Coachman again. That was small mercies. But
I think so one of the issues I had with this match was, now there's no question the crowd was loving it.
they were
DX are wild over here,
like you wouldn't believe.
Unbelievably over.
Yeah.
But and I'm all for it, you know, milk the crowd, milk the cheers, all that. But the match was 18 minutes long.
Yeah.
But the whole segment from entrance to bell must have been 45 minutes. Like you had the voting section, and then you had DX coming to the ring, and then DX did this making different sides of the audience cheer thing for a couple of minutes, and then they had this in-ring promo, this long rambly in-ring promo that went on, like full of kind of wee in jokes and stuff, but it was the kind of stuff wrestlers do in a house show, you know, like just having the crack. And then this was before you even had the other rated RKO come in then, you know, so this kind of dragged for me a little bit because it was 20 minutes before we got to the actual match.
And yeah, like that's kind of my problem with it as well. There was it was. I think if this had been on the other Cyber Sundays or the other Taboo Tuesdays, it would have kind of fit more in. But because it's like, oh no, actually we're a real pay-per-view now, it just came off as you said, rambly and overindulgent.
That's exactly what it is. Overindulgent. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wasn't. I genuinely wasn't a fan of it. I think it took too much away from the show, and there could have been a match there. I mean, there really could have been. It seems like they were stalling for time. They were stalling for time.
Actually, there's some matches on this show that go 4 minutes. There's one that goes 6 minutes. Like, easily they could have had either given those matches more time, or they could have had another couple of wrestlers in here.
Easy, yeah.
But look, I mean, again, we're reflecting on it as very different kinds of fans than the ones who were there, and there's no denying that the audience in that arena at the time absolutely loved the DX stuff.
Yeah, they did. And look, I mean, it made sense. There really wasn't a lot to cheer at this point, okay? So DX, they were like, yeah, we're going to take whatever we can get, and it's DX.
Yeah.
You know? So look, the biggest mark, and we are getting up to time almost, but the biggest mark difference, we'll probably have to leave it at this now in a second, but between what we've seen in Taboo Tuesday and what we've seen on Cyber Sunday is it's so crazy, because I mean the next match is Lita defeating Mickie James for the vacant women's championship, right? It's apples, and there's no fulfill your fantasy match. There's no, you know, there's just Here's
So
women, and they're going to wrestle.
This is where I was watching the pay-per-view, and I was like, "Oh, we are well into the PG era here." So, because it's even gone down to the level of, so firstly, it's like you say, it's an actual match. It's not a fulfill your fantasy vote. Do you want to see them in G-strings or thongs?
Like the first Taboo Tuesday had 2 such matches.
Oh yeah, and was very blatant and celebrated that this was not about the women as athletes. This was about showing as much flesh as you could, while not upsetting the sponsors. So yeah, there's no fantasy battle royale. King Jerry Lawler controls himself. He
does.
He rates very low on the Matt Menard growl scale the whole way.
I don't even think he could do it once. I don't think it'd be fair to say it's even on the scale.
Oh, if it is, it's a 1. You know, it's very low on the scale. And I noticed that even Mickie James, so her whole thing has always been she wears that skirt that is a glorified belt. Even she's changed her attire. You know, so it's that this match was the one that made me think, oh, we're well into the PG era here.
Yeah, the only one who was still flying that flag is Maria. She's the only one flying that flag.
Yeah, when she's doing the sort of segments in between.
Yeah. So look, but the thing about it is, I mean, we did say this, that the work that those women did really, really set the table for a real women's division.
Oh yeah.
You know, I mean, like, it's not just a thing that they say nowadays for clout. It's okay, a little bit of that is true, but I mean, Lita and Mickie James pretty much, and Trish Stratus built the women's division. Trish Stratus has just retired.
And look, nobody's going to say it's that this is a 5-star match, but
it's not. But you know what though? Here's the thing: it's not a 5-star match, but it's probably the second best match on the card.
Oh, look,
if not the best match on the card.
It's definitely not. It's definitely not in the bottom half if you're going to rank them. And there's some really good moments on it. Mickie James's Hurricane Rana to the outside, like that was. I mean, like they did it in a very safe manner, but it was pretty cool, you know.
And look, a lumberjack match I don't really like. This is a lumberjill match. I think it's the first time it was ever called that, which is kind of funny and cute. But at the same time, it's like. It has so much personality to it. Like lumberjack matches, I don't think have any personality because the lads take it far too seriously. Like there's bits where I think Ariel is there, from ECW, and she's like the vampire goth one, and she's just hamming it up completely out there, and it's like, you know what, this is what's different, So look, I would say if you had to pick one match from this is probably not a bad shout to go for this one.
What did you think of the result? What do you think of Lita winning?
I think they needed to do that. I think they needed to have some kind of shock. And the reason why I say it is, it's one, Edge isn't going to get doesn't have a belt yet, and she's really kind of going in there with the whole RKO thing. I don't know if you know that, like her and Edge were really pushing the RKO rated R superstar. I think that's when this started. It was around this time. So they needed a belt, and Edge was feuding with Cena pretty much exclusively when he wasn't with Randy Orton. So they needed some kind of prop, and I think it made all the sense in the world, because later on there's a reference to it, and we can't say it because we're just we're still on the radio for the next 2 minutes, but we will leave it there for a second. Martin, is there anything you want to plug before we get out of here, and then go on to the podcast exclusive?
No, just people get on the podcast, because you are going to want to know what we're referencing here.
Yes.
We can't say it.
We can't. Basically,
it's the only point in the pay-per-view where the drugs slightly wore off and King allowed himself to be king for about 4.5 seconds before JR jabbed him with the syringe again, and he calmed back down.
Yeah. I have that exactly in my notes as well. So, folks, we're going to leave you there with that because, I mean, you don't want to miss it. And again, if you're checking us out on the radio, thank you so much. We deeply appreciate it. But you're missing out on all the past shows and stuff that we can't say on the radio.
All the swearing. And we have some incredibly inventive swearing. Like, Dara said something last week, and I hadn't even heard of it before. And the next thing, we got a letter from the UN sanctioning us because of Dara's invented swear word. So you got to get on the podcast.
You absolutely do. And it's all free. There's no paywall. You can go over and check it out. But if you do want to help us out, we have our Patreon. So you can go over to thewrestlingrewind.com and get all the shows and also our Patreon content to give us an X-Pac Euro. You know, if you like to, if you want to hear, if you like what you hear, if you want to hear the Mark Madden scale and the Katie Vick scale, all of that stuff, it's all funded by the Patreon. And of course, again, if you don't want to do that, please spread the word about the radio show and the podcast. Thank you so much for checking us out on Phoenix 92.5 FM. We'll be back next week to talk about more nonsense from about 20 years ago here on the Wrestling Rewind. Bye, guys.
You have nothing else to do on a Saturday? Do you like nerd things? Now check out Nerd to Know Basis here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, 5 PM to 6 PM, and then head over to nerdtoknowmedia.com for all of our shows as part of the Nerd to Know Media radio network.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.
Alright, everybody. That was a botch. That was a fucking Sin Cara botch. You were watching with some Sin Cara, weren't you?
Yes, oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah, I saw the different variations and I was actually really impressed when he would jump into the ring until I found out that there should be trampoline there.
And that they always recorded his voice.
Yeah.
Alright, here we go. Alright, everybody, welcome back to the Wrestling Rewind. This is the exclusive podcast only where we can swear and say things that we can't on the radio for obvious reasons. And Martin, we were referencing something that happened on the show around this point. So, you know, the show had gotten much more safe. Jerry the King Lawler wasn't really king at this point. He was a husk of a former man. But there was one point. There was one point after this match when Lita has won. And she's celebrating, and actually, no, sorry, it's later on. It's much later on. It's when the tag team titles change hands, and Ric Flair and Roddy Piper win. Yeah, they win. And sorry, go on.
No. Yeah, but do you want to do it now, or do you want to?
No, I'll do it now because we promised we would. Okay. So yeah, and basically they win, and King says, "Do you think?"
Hold on. So Ric Flair and Roddy Piper win.
Yeah.
And then the Spirit Squad attack them. So then Dusty Rhodes and Sergeant Slaughter come running down to the ring.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've got Ric Flair, Roddy Piper, Dusty Rhodes, Sergeant Slaughter, a combined age in the ring of about 250, and King says, "Oh, I hope these guys don't celebrate with a live sex show."
And then JR says,
"What?"
And then JR says, "Not everything's about live sex, King."
live sex.
Live sex.
Not everything's about live sex.
Which is like, what sex are you talking about?
What's worse is that, and I know OSW have done a segment on this before, but it's so true. Roddy Piper is wearing black trunks and black boots, but no knee pads. And there is something about a wrestler wearing trunks and boots with no knee pads that makes them look even more naked than if they were actually naked.
It really does. It's just, yeah, that's a very good point. That's a very, very good point.
Like there's parts of this where Roddy Piper is knocked down on the ground and he sits up, and he's sat up and his belly's hanging over his black trunks, and he's got his booties on down the bottom, and he looks like a 6-foot toddler. It's the most bizarre, and I don't even get it. Like, so from an aesthetic point of view, it's just mental because you just look bizarre. But like, he's a queer age at this stage. You'd think you'd want to protect your knees. I was wrestling in my early 30s, and they were telling me, lad, you're gonna want knee pads. Like,
I'll be honest with you. Obviously I haven't wrestled, but I wear shin guards now, and they protect my knees as well. Best thing in the world. It's great. I don't know why you wouldn't wear them.
Oh,
just
yeah.
Makes no sense.
And especially just the fact that they make you look so, like, take Stone Cold Steve Austin, right?
He looks so, yeah. The more stuff was added to his knees, the better he looked.
Yeah. He looked like bionic by the end of it. But if you take Stone Cold Steve Austin, the most famous wrestler, I mean, next to Hogan, they're probably 50-50, but one of the most famous wrestlers ever, right?
Yeah.
You take his knee pads off him, he is not getting in the front door.
No.
He would look like a giant nude baby.
I think it's because they look, as you said, more naked than if they were naked. That's probably what it is. And I think it's just because, like, it looks like you've caught some lad in his jocks, like.
Yeah, he's gotten up in the middle of the night and he wants to run to the toilet, but he doesn't want to get fully dressed.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
So he pulls the socks and the cacks on and makes a run for it and hopes nobody's out in the hallway.
Yeah, but I mean that's something that I'm glad I didn't notice beforehand.
Well, OS. So, and again, I have to admit, we can't take credit for this, but it just brought it to mind. OSW did this whole section on wrestlers who look even more naked when they're not wearing knee pads, and it's a genuinely bizarre phenomenon. Like, honest to God.
Like, just going back here, right? Ric Flair doesn't even have the knee pads on correctly.
Yeah.
They're like halfway down his leg.
Yeah, he has them. They're basically sitting on top of his boots.
Yeah.
But he still looks like a dressed wrestler.
That's very true.
And he's actually wearing the exact same thing as Piper, just wearing black trunks and black boots. But because he has the knee pad, he doesn't look like he's, running around the local park flashing.
But that's what it looks like.
Single mothers.
It looks like Piper has been let loose from somewhere.
Yeah, or he's escaped. It looks but it's genuinely bizarre that the knee pads are such a key thing.
They are. Like, he looks genuinely disheveled. Like,
it's a strange. So, thank God we're on the podcast, because I have this theory, right?
Okay.
About nudity on television.
Oh my God. Okay, I'm so glad it's on the podcast.
and what television censors declare is and isn't nudity. Okay. So pretty much all of the tit is fine except the nipple.
Oh my God.
For whatever reason.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just like, I'm so glad we went to break. I would have to cut this all out.
If you watch like Baywatch or anything like that, they're showing there's a lot of side boob, there's a lot of under boob. It's censors, the nipple is what really annoys them, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same with arches. The cheeks of the arch are fair play. You can show them on telly all day. It's the bum hole is what really upsets the censors. So you can show the cheeks all day, but you can't show the bum hole. So
that needs to be a shirt. It needs to be a shirt. You can't show the bum hole.
So, but here's the thing. My theory is then that if you went on television in the middle of the day, completely nude, and they only showed you from behind, as long as you had a butt plug in, you would be dressed. You would be dressed for television. So that's my theory. I just thought I'd share it on our wrestling podcast.
I'm just gonna, folks, if you have your thoughts and opinions on that, please send them to Martin on Twitter.
Yeah. And send us an X-Pac Euro, and you never know, you might get a picture of one of us dressed for television.
No, you won't. I'm not going to lie to the people.
You don't know what I'd do after a few drinks.
No, that's fair. That's fair. You might get one of Martin. That's fair. No, okay. Did you see at the end of this match the sign in the crowd?
No, which one?
Someone thanks Rob Conway. There's a sign thanking Rob Conway.
Yeah, I actually did see. What is that about?
I have no idea.
Who is he?
Rob Conway. The discount Buff Bagwell.
Oh, right, yeah. God, do you know who I bet you that was?
Who?
Bet you that was Buff Bagwell.
Thanks for stealing my gimmick.
Yeah, I bet he was like a real, like, passive aggressive. Like, do you remember in the US, Republicans got really like passive aggressive after Obama won the election? So, like, anything that happened to them, like, say they woke up in the middle of the night and they banged their toe on the table, they'd tweet it and they'd be like, bang my toe on the table in the middle of the night. Thanks, Obama. I bet you that was Buff Bagwell.
Oh, that's where that came from.
Thanks,
okay.
Rob Conway. Thanks for stealing my gimmick.
So look, after this, so yeah.
Well,
sorry, go
hold on before we go, because we kind of jumped into the end of this.
We did. Okay, sorry. Let me go back. So Ric Flair was challenging the Spirit Squad, Kenny and Mikey specifically, for the World Tag Team Championship, and he was tasked to pick from Dusty Rhodes, Sergeant Slaughter, and Roddy Piper. So Roddy Piper won, and they would win the tag belts with help from Dusty and Sergeant Slaughter.
No. Dusty and Sergeant Slaughter only came out at the end when the Spirit Squad jumped them after the match.
Oh, yeah, but they did a little dance and celebrate.
So, well, they did all that. But yeah, this is what's so mental. Ric Flair and Roddy Piper clean won the World Tag titles.
Yeah, but I mean, dude, the Spirit Squad were not over. They were hated.
So I actually have a couple of different. So my notes for this whole show are like sparse, but this match is the only section where I actually have loads of stuff I want to talk about.
Okay, I'm gonna give you the floor.
Okay, well, but like we do a back and forth of that.
We will, yeah. But I'm gonna give you the floor.
Thing,
I'm gonna let you lead this one. Right, go on.
Okay. So the first thing was Ric Flair and Roddy Piper winning the tag titles. That's mental. I think maybe they were thinking that Dusty Rhodes would get the vote because he actually looked to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, he was still working. He was working with them.
He was working.
He was still working.
And when he came out doing the shake, rattle, and roll at the end, and the beating up the Spirit Squad at the end, he was like bouncing about the ring in really good shape. Roddy Piper, man, as much as I love him, he is like genuinely one of my all-time favorites. And I mean, from way back, like from his WrestleMania matches with Brett, he's not in good shape here. And I looked up what happened because I was like, this is mental. Like, they couldn't have held the titles for long. They dropped the titles 2 weeks later, but they were actually supposed to hold them for longer. They dropped the titles 2 weeks later because Piper was diagnosed with cancer.
He was. And
he had to quit. Now, he obviously beat it because he lived for another 10 years. So fair play to the Hot Rod. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about, and I wanted to ask you about it more than talk about it, because I get big Mean Street Posse vibes off the Spirit Squad. I can't believe they weren't more over. They're such.
Yeah. Okay. This is
likable heat.
Yeah. This is complicated.
This would have been an amazing faction, like an amazing heel faction.
It was, but the problem, well, it is complicated, and there are videos on YouTube and stuff that kind of go into it. Basically,
well, so a couple of weeks later, isn't this the thing where they were put in a box and sent?
And sent back to OVW. Yeah, like, but the problem was like they were instantly hated. Everybody hated them, right? And DX were okay. It's a combination of they were hated, but it wasn't like I want to see you beat. It was I want to see you gone away. right? So there was no, it wasn't like the Mean Street Posse where you're like, the lads, look at them there. They were so paint by the numbers that there was no real way they could shine. And then also there was still a fair amount of their male cheerleaders.
But this is like, so
that kind of speaks for itself at the time as well. You have to use a bit of, read between the lines here. They were never.
This is why I'm so confused here, because, okay, so like I say, I wasn't watching around this time. This pay-per-view is my only experience in so far.
It was the worst. It was this era.
Were they very bad in the ring?
No, dude. Fucking Dolph Ziggler's there.
So here, you see when they first came out.
Yeah.
And their music starts with Kenny.
Yeah.
Rap. I was like, oh my God, this is brilliant. This is brilliant heel stuff. This reminds me of
3 count.
That's exactly the WCW guys who used to dance down to the ring.
But the difference between the Spirit Squad and 3 count is it wasn't mean spirited. 3 count were unironically great, and they'd go in and have absolute bangers. There's not one good match that the Spirit Squad actually had, and I mean that.
Is that booking or is that on them?
No, it was kind of a mixture of both. Like, they had some good lads in there. I think one was a professional MMA fighter now as well, but it was like the wrong thing at the wrong time in the wrong place. So in the Attitude Era, this actually would have been. It would have been a lot more extreme. Probably would have been laced with words that we can't repeat anymore.
Faintly homophobic stuff.
Yeah, well, it was like that anyway, but it would have been even more, in your face then. But at the same time, specific characters would have been able to shine through, and they would have had a big match at the end. What happened here with the Spirit Squad was you couldn't tell them apart. Pretty much on purpose, except for one of them was really bad. Like, I think it's Nikki or whatever was really bad, and the rest of them, kind of went along with it. But the real problem, not Nikki, Kenny or Mikey, I don't know which one. Nikki was Nick Nemeth, who is Dolph Ziggler.
Yeah.
Basically, there was that, and then there was the fans just wanted them to go away, and then there was the feud with DX, who completely killed them. They got destroyed by Vince McMahon as well, by associating with Vince McMahon, and they were gone with a year. So it's just a perfect combination.
I looked it up. They were gone within like 2 months.
That's what I'm saying. Like, within the year, all traces of them were completely gone. It wasn't like they came back. They were gone. However, there's a caveat here. In late 2016. Mikey and Kenny returned to the WWE to feud Dolph Ziggler.
And did they reference their Spirit Squad history?
Yeah, no, they showed up to tease him because there was a feud that Dolph Ziggler was having with The Miz.
Well, Matt, I'm speaking purely objectively here. I was not watching the product at the time. I had never seen this pay-per-view before, but these guys came out and I said that. So I've been aware of what happened to them in terms of DX beating them up and putting them in a box and, doing the old like shoot gimmicks, send them back to OVW or whatever. But from a purely objective standpoint as a viewer, whenever they came out, I was like, this is an amazing heel faction. Like,
well, here's the thing.
You could hate these guys for years.
So Kenny and Mikey, who were the team in the match, they would actually go on through the indies, and they were actually in the House of Hardcore as well. They feuded with Tommy Dreamer and the Sandman. So, I mean, they knew what they were doing. They also challenged the Bucks in Ring of Honor. So, I mean, they are still out there. But
I mean specifically the Spirit Squad, specifically in WWE. Like I say, I haven't watched the period.
They're still doing that gimmick. That's what the squad is. It's Kenny and It's Kenny and Mikey.
Right.
They're doing the gimmick now.
Right. Well, I gotta say, I was genuinely surprised. I thought that there was a lot like Mean Street Posse and a lot like 3 Count. I thought there was so much potential there for absolute heel nonsense.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing that I liked about this match was, look, I know it's cheap, I know it's a shortcut, but it's hard to beat some like kind of feel good nostalgia. You know, and when you have Roddy Piper in there, when you have Dusty Rhodes coming down and to the ring and doing the business, and even Sergeant Slaughter showing up, this was probably the only part of the pay-per-view where I forgot I was reviewing a pay-per-view and just sat and enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair. That's totally fair. Like, and I mean, that's why people voted for who they voted for. They voted for nostalgia, and nostalgia is, it's very powerful, man. You know, and that's what people got. So, what was it?
No live sex celebration.
No live sex celebration. Not on. Well, there was actually on Raw. There actually was when Edge won. They did have a live sex celebration.
Yeah. So that's a whole other.
That's a whole other thing. So
do you think maybe that's what Piper was expecting, and that's why he showed up nude?
So the main event was actually, this is cool. They should bring this back, because I mean, this genuinely was actually quite a cool thing. A triple threat match for the World Heavyweight Championship, but we didn't know which one. Was it the big gold belt, the World Heavyweight Championship, the WWE Championship, or the newly crowned ECW World Heavyweight Championship? King Booker being your world champion, Big Show being your ECW champion, and John Cena being, unfortunately, the WWE champion for longer than I'd like to admit, because I have to relive that.
We talked earlier in the night about how one of the good things about the show was the backstage segments.
Yes.
And there was a great segment prior to this match where Booker T goes to see John Cena, and he says, look, we're 2 legitimate world champions. We can't have either of our world titles going to that sloppy ECW show. Yeah. So what about we have a pact? Like, if it's one of our titles is up, me and you will deal with the Big Show. We'll get him out of there, and then me and you'll go toe to toe. We'll have a straight up match.
Yeah.
And Cena goes, all right, but I have a stipulation. I want one night with Queen Sharmell. And Booker throws her. He says, "Listen, I'm going to handle this." He's saying to Sharmell, she obviously flies off the handle. He's like, "I'll handle this. I'll give him the business. I'll tell him he can't have my queen. Go on, you go out into the hall there, darling." It's like, "God damn it, Cena, how are you?" And then he just one night. All right, man. Okay, you can have one. I just thought, if they had left it at that, I thought that would have been genuinely hilarious. But as you say, because we're in the Super Cena era, then Cena had to be like, "Oh man, I was only testing you. I would never do that." And he kind of ruined it a wee bit at the end, but I still enjoyed this wee skit.
No, that's fair. That's fair. The match itself, I thought it was pretty interesting, actually. I wasn't expecting Booker to get picked. I thought they would have just went Cena because it's the biggest belt, but it was the real world championship, you know. But yeah, it was cool to have this like inter-promotional match with stakes. They never do that, you know. And particularly now, they really don't do it. But they didn't do this on a Raw specific pay-per-view. So what did you make of that?
Well, it's actually, it's just interesting what you said. It reminded me of it. This is, I think, core to the issue I have with WWE pay-per-views nowadays. So at this time, WWE were running in 2006. They ran 14 pay-per-views that year. And in the November to December period, they had this show, they had Survivor Series, they had December to Dismember.
Oh, yeah.
And then
that was this year, wasn't it?
They had something in early January then. So there was a period of like 8 weeks where there was 3 pay-per-views. So I think one of the things, and I know people have divided views on it, but one of the things I like about AEW is that they only have the 4 pay-per-views a year, 5 now if you include Forbidden Door, but those pay-per-views all build up to like a major storyline, and then there's a payoff, like it's a huge deal. Whereas because WWE has, they've got all their monthly pay-per-views, then they've got their their Saudi shows. They have to do however many Saudi shows a year. They end up with, it's still averaging out at more than 12 pay-per-views a year.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that one of the major problems I have with their product is that because they're always building, there's never a payoff. So like the thing with Cody at WrestleMania, that was built for a year, and WrestleMania was the payoff. But because they're still making, the bloodline still really popular, they're still making money out of the bloodline, and you have to have Roman on top for the sale and all that. So they use WrestleMania as a build to something else. And then whatever it'll be will be a build to something else. Everything's constantly building, but nothing is ever paid off. And I find it really frustrating to watch. And it's around this time when that type of booking really kicks off, because they have so many pay-per-views that the current pay-per-view isn't a payoff, isn't a, like the end of the story, the start of a new story, right? And the current pay-per-view is really only there to promote the next pay-per-view. So it's constant promotion, constant build, but never any payoff. And I think this is the era when that really started.
I will be honest with you though, there is a phenomenal match. Like actually Armageddon 2006, we'll watch it next week actually as a little bit of a break, because
sure.
I'm not. Do you know anything about
it? So I have. Whenever I got back into wrestling, I went to CEX and I bought a load of just whatever random DVDs I could get for 50 cent, and a couple of them are Armageddon. I'm not sure which ones I have, but what I do remember, kind of relating to what we were talking about earlier, is that they tend to have a really cool physical set.
Okay, good. Keep it at that. Do not look up anything about it, because Armageddon 2006, it's very good. It's very good, and it's a SmackDown only pay-per-view, and I think because we're in this timeline, it would be remiss to not kind of see what SmackDown was like, but then also we're going to treat ourselves, because there's actually some. It's a good show. It's a good show.
Yeah, great call.
Great we'll call do. I think we'll do that if that's okay with you.
Yeah, 100%.
But so do not look up anything about it though. Don't just go in blind, and that's my advice.
I won't. I'll tell you. The only thing I'll do is I'll see if it's one of the DVDs I have here. But I won't. But folks, yeah. So
sorry. One second. No, folks, if you're listening to this and you're like you're googling it now, don't go in and watch it blind. I swear you'll have more fun going in blind.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to this now.
When it happens, you'll know what I'm talking about. Right, go on.
So back to this match. Like you say, good concept. I mean, I didn't have the highest hopes for the match. I really like Booker T.
He's great, and this is his proper run. This is his this made him a Hall of Famer. This run.
Is this the apology for the Triple H WrestleMania?
No, see, think about it. So he's over. So a couple of the lads are over from SmackDown, which is why it feels more like a pay-per-view, because it's not as hollow as it would be just Raw only.
Yeah.
And he's kind of ruling the roost over on SmackDown. So SmackDown is really Booker T's show.
I do like this King Booker gimmick.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's very good.
He's very good. Like, the wrong person could have easily made it like really difficult to watch and really brought the show down. But
Yeah,
he's very good at it.
No, that run specifically, that's his Hall of Fame run. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. God.
And you can say, oh, WCW. No, it doesn't. That's not what anybody remembers. They remember this. So
we see, it probably depends on your age. Like for me, Booker T is Harlem Heat and WCW, his breakout.
True. But I mean, like, if you're watching his full run,
this is
it. And look, I'm a big WCW fan. We loved Harlem Heat. We really liked him in WCW as well. But what got him in the WWE Hall of Fame
was this.
Well,
here's what I'll say from he is the only one in this match who I had any faith in as a worker.
Right.
So Cena has his 5 moves, and he can be hit or miss. He can have a really good night or a really bad night.
Yeah.
Same with Big Show. You never really know what you're going to get.
Yeah, Big Show was very overweight at this point as well. Actually, he'd be gone very, very soon back to OVW as well to deal with his weight.
God.
Because the whole
join the Spirit Squad.
The ECW debacle, he wasn't blamed for it, but his weight was out of control at this point, so they would actually get rid of him fairly soon into 2007. Yeah, good point.
So the match was fine. Again, it was
until the end.
Well, it was okay up until the end. It was kind of
It actually was very good up until literally the last
parts of So it built up, and parts of it were good. Parts of it were kind of dull plodding stuff. But up until the end, it kind of was in step with the rest of the show, which just kind of felt like a very average episode of Raw.
Yeah.
But then the end happened.
So okay, for context, do you know who this guy is?
I had to Google him afterwards. I was so confused. But what I will say is, because I Googled him afterwards, and he's not particularly well liked. And what I will say is, he showed up. He was on screen for 5 seconds. I had no idea who he was. And I was like, I do not like you. I don't like you.
Yeah.
If I was driving down the road and it was lashing rain, no, never mind. If it was lashing lava and I saw you walking down the road, I wouldn't stop for you in my car. Just the most unlikable person.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, so for anyone who doesn't know, and it does actually, because obviously we're watching, from 1999, and the show's kind of dated in on itself sometimes. This really dates the show, because this guy, he's famous for one thing: tricking Britney Spears into marrying him for like a week and a half or something like that. So he's Britney Spears' ex-husband, if you can believe that. He was a backup dancer, and believe it or not, he was actually on Raw a lot at this point. I think he challenged Cena at one point for the belt on Raw. I've tried to block most of that period out of my life, watching wrestling, because it was as bad as it sounds. And he was on the show for ages, but man.
So he's Kevin Federline.
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 Yeah.
But whenever he comes out, I don't know if this is his rap name or whatever. Whenever he comes out, they call him K-Fed.
Oh, I thought so. Him and Cena had a rap off.
I thought they said the Fed, and I was like, "What is this? Is this like some guy who's like, never mind this World Wrestling Entertainment stuff. Bring back the Federation."
No, him and Cena would have a rap off as well at one point, because he was a rapper for like a week.
Well, he's walking around. So Cena has, oh my God, just the worst STFU on. So there are some great wrestlers who have some blind spots, and my thing in wrestling has always been, I really find it noble when people are ambitious. I think a good idea, even if it doesn't really pay off well, as long as you're trying to do something different, I think that's really noble. But ultimately, when it comes to wrestling, if you can't do something well, you just shouldn't do it at all. The Rock shouldn't do a sharpshooter, and John Cena should not do the STU. He just looks like whenever I'm cuddling Hannah at night, I put more force into it. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's one of the worst submissions ever, and it never got better.
No, but it looks like it's a version of like the Regal stretch. Like when Regal would put that on, he looked like he was ripping guys in half. Like it's also kind of like a sort of a modified crossface crippler. And man, when Benoit would slap that on, you think he was going to pull someone's head off.
Yeah,
Cena's just really bad at it. All he does is he folds their knee up and then he gently cuddles them. Like it's
Kurt Angle's to blame for this. This was from a Kurt Angle feud where they had a feud on SmackDown, and Angle's like, "You don't know any submissions," and then he wheels that out.
Oh, but Jesus, give him something he can't screw up, you know. But anyway, so Cena has Booker T down. He's gently spooning him. K-Fed comes out of nowhere and jumps into the ring and hits Cena with the belt. Cena gets up to chase off K-Fed, and then Booker T grabs the belt and smacks Cena. I have
to say that little belt shot into Cena falling over is actually great. It actually looked unreal.
It was very good. Yeah, it was
very
like
good.
Forceful, but it was sneaky. Like it was. But look, Booker T.
It was just really good. It's it's actually the best belt shot or use of the belt I think I've ever actually seen in wrestling.
But it's still weird because then he throws it out of the ring. Like that would have been great in any other match. But this is a triple threat. There's no DQ.
No DQ. Yeah, so, that's true.
Like
and here's the thing.
Hit him with it twice more if you want.
And here's the thing. Even if he did get disqualified, the champion has advantage. So
yes, it's just
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Get disqualified straight away. What? No.
Yeah, it was just bizarre.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, I suppose they were doing it obviously to put over the fact that Cena wasn't really beat. But it just didn't make sense. Also, I was surprised. Cena full on puts the FU on Charmel.
Yeah.
And in this era, very unusual to see a male wrestler actually hitting a woman, either a woman wrestler or a woman valet or manager or anything.
Yeah. No. Well, Charmel's foray into wrestling is a thing on of itself, and I think she holds the record for the worst match of all time. But that is a TNA story.
Well, I tell you what, she takes a hell of a bump here because Cena he really hoofs her over when he does the FU.
Well, look, I mean, I think that's a good point to leave it on because we tried to dig out some positives on this, and it was sorry. Go on.
Just before we leave it there, so Booker hits him with the belt, covers him. We got the 1, 2, 3. Booker wins. So even though you had your interactive thing, none of the belts actually change hands. Does a celebration, leaves, and then K-Fed gets back in the ring.
Yeah,
and he's doing his he's mocking Cena, doing the hand over the face thing. And he does it to every corner of the ring. And it's just the way he walks annoys me. The way he wears his trousers down around his arse, even though he's a skinny white guy, annoys me. The way he was, so he's grabbing his dick. He's outside his jeans, right? When he's walking around, he's but he's not actually grabbing his dick. He's grabbing like halfway down his leg, and I'm looking at him going, I know your dick's not that big. Like, why are you pretending this? Like,
I didn't even cop that part.
I don't believe that. He's like, he's walking around with his hand like just over his knee as if he's holding his lad.
I thought his leg. I just thought his knee was sore. That's what I thought was happening.
This is before I googled him. I had no idea who this fellow was, but my God, I'm even more baffled now that the Spirit Squad had go away heat, and this fella didn't.
Well, he did. He did because I mean, like him, like those those segments on Raw were not good. They were not good.
Apparently, he actually beat Cena.
He did. Oh, well, there you go. I mean, I'll block that out.
But
I don't. Was it for the belt?
No. It
Okay.
was. I think it was like a non-title, or it was interference or something. But what I will say is, because I know you wanted to end on a positive note, so
Go on.
Here's the positive note we can end on. I looked up this fella. Apparently, he has one album. He's released one, and he was they named the album in the Jerry Lawler talks about the album. So this is obviously part of a promotional thing for his album.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It is the worst rated album in history. On Metacritic, it has the lowest score of any album ever.
Yes.
It is the only album he has ever produced. And the first single from the album was so bad that they actually withdrew it from the charts, and later prints of the album didn't even have that single on it. And I'm actually surprised there were even later prints of the album, because the album worldwide, and this is taken 10 years after it came out, so this isn't like in the first week or the first month, this is ever across the world, this guy's album sold 16,000 copies.
Oh.
So at least there's that, that cheered me up a bit.
Playing with Fire is the name of the album.
Is it? There you go.
It's considered to be one of the worst albums ever released.
Oh, are you looking it up there?
Yeah, it's on Wikipedia. Wow.
This fella has been outsold multiple times over by the Wolf Tones.
But look, didn't he give it a good L try? And that's, Oh, well, okay. 7 appearances, apparently, on Raw, according to... Yeah, 7 appearances.
And a win over the champion in the Cena wins lol era.
Yeah, like deep into it. Deep into it. Like at this time, like just before this, Cena is responsible for Eric Bischoff being released, like in storyline, and Chris Jericho being released. I think people should realize why I hate John Cena so much. I had to watch him get rid of Bischoff, had to watch him get rid of Jericho, had to watch him get rid of Triple H in person.
But this is why, right? Regardless of what you think of AEW, regardless of what you think of Tony Khan, this is why they are an objectively good thing, because WWE without competition is
it turns into
fucking dreadful.
Yeah, it turns into this. Exactly. Yeah. And you're right. I mean, it kind of picks up a little bit now. 2007 actually wasn't a bad year. 2008 wasn't bad either. Start getting bad again. But like, you're right. You're spot on. And I mean, I think it'll be interesting now to see Armageddon, a different slice of SmackDown, because SmackDown was the superior show at this point, if memory serves. So it'll be funny and interesting to see kind of how different it is. And then when we go back to Cyber Sunday in 2007, if any improvements were made. But Marion, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, sir. Is there anything you want to plug before we finish up for tonight?
No, I love the I love the way we make up what we're going to do next week during the show.
I mean, guys, we legitimately don't plan the show outside of
and even like
our group chat is just memes and lulz. Like
literally, like me and Dara and Dave, like we'd be good friends, but like we don't discuss the show. No,
like we discuss everything else but the show.
We talk to each other during the week, and it's all memes or taking the piss or whatever. And then about 10:15, I'll get a text from Dara going, "You good to go at 10:30?" And that's it. So yeah. Genuinely looking forward to Armageddon and thoroughly enjoying this, even though most of it's terrible. I'm kind of enjoying this arc because it's a period of wrestling that I haven't seen.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's kind of it's allowing me to relive some of it as well. And it's interesting because I was more of a Raw fan than a SmackDown fan at the time, just because of the way I was watching wrestling. So it'll be interesting to go back and watch and do a direct comparison as well. So I'm looking forward to it as well. I really am.
The only other thing I'd say is if I am going to plug something is if I could speak for a moment directly to Kevin Costner, and I know you're a fan of the show, Kevin. I know there have been issues with you and your contract regarding the final season of Yellowstone. I would urge you to please get over whatever your issues are and get that thing recorded, because I do not know what to do with my evenings.
I thought you were making an appeal to Kevin Federline for one reason. I'm like,
and Kevin Federline, I know you're also a fan. I know you're listening. Please kill yourself.
Oh my god. Well, folks, on that note, I'll tell you to go over to thewrestlingrewind.com. We need those X-Pac euros. The shows did not record themselves. Bandwidth's expensive. And I mean, here's the thing.
Everyone who signs up gets a free copy of Playing with Fire.
I think they just give those out like randomly. They're like, yeah, here, we have this. It's like somewhere in like the New Mexico desert. They just have a pit of those, and they're like, yeah, we just can't get rid of them. Like,
we'll fish one out of the plastic island in the Atlantic Ocean.
Or let us know if you're a fan of Kevin Federline for some reason. I mean, one, probably go get help, and then two, why?
Or Kevin, if you want to come on and be
we'd love
abused for an hour.
We'd love to have you on the show. Like, what happened, you know? But no, that's going to do it for this week, folks. Thank you so much for listening in. We'll be back next week where we're going to look at Armageddon 2006. This is Wrestling Rewind. See you later, guys.
David Arquette.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.